everyone, this is Joram Barrez from Flowable, and we are in the Flowable Zurich office today. And I have with me Roman Saratz. Maybe Roman, you can tell the audience, who are you and why did I invite you?
Thank you, Joram. I'm Roman Saratz, and I'm a solution architect with Flowable. Been here for a while, 5 years.
Yeah.
Almost more than 5 years now. And my primary goal is to make our customers successful with our product. I do customer workshops, I do trainings, I do coachings, I help a lot of people. I get on the product team's nerves with my wishes.
I disagree with that. Yeah.
But yeah, I do everything to help our customers.
Awesome. No, that's awesome, and that's I'm doing a really good job actually. If I may say so. So we were talking over coffee, and we were talking about what would be a good topic to talk about in front of the camera. And the thing I wanted to ask you was, what's the number one thing when you come into any kind of new customer environment, new customer project? What's the one thing they always ask you? No matter what you're doing.
The number one question is how should they size Flowable?
And how should they size Flowable?
It depends.
That's not really helpful, right?
Well, it depends on what you want to do with it. It
Right.
depends on what kind of use cases you're running with it. How many use cases? Is it one use case? Is it 100 use cases? We have the whole spectrum.
And it depends is a kind of a vague classic architect kind of answer, right? But do you have like an Excel sheet where you fill in kind of parameters and then things change? Or how do you go about deciding, how to size Flowable? What is the hardware, the servers you need to run your project with Flowable?
Well, you start with an initial sizing. The initial sizing is actually not that important.
Okay.
Because you adjust it to the needs over time.
Okay.
So when you implement a certain use case, you start with a small sizing usually, because you don't need to oversize it from the start.
Wouldn't it be easy to just start with something huge, like say, that you never have to worry about it? Like, just get 10 servers, 128 gigabytes of RAM,
easier
64 cores. Yeah, it's exactly. Wouldn't it be easier?
Yeah.
Right? So why don't you do that?
It definitely would be easier for me, but you still have to think about the costs. Right. We have customers that have a lot of environments. Maybe you have different Flowable installation, and then every Flowable installation has multiple productive and non-productive environments.
Right.
So like test, prod, pre-prod, and so on. So we have customers up to 6 environments.
Okay, cool.
And then when you increase memory or CPU or the number of nodes,
times,
it multiplies, right?
Of course,
So you really need to think about the proper sizing. So you don't want to start too big, but you need to adjust over time to the needs of the platform.
Okay, I see. So that sounded like a great idea, but I can see in the real world that wouldn't work, right? So you're saying it depends on the use cases. Now, what would be something in my process or case that would influence that I need more kind of better setup, or a different setup, right?
Well, there's a lot of different factors. An important factor is you need to think about how many users are working on the system simultaneously. So then that mostly has an impact on how many nodes you need to.
And nodes in this sentence, in this kind of context, means nodes, number of servers.
Number of servers,
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a hardware server, but it can be a number of running Flowable processes serving customer or client requests.
I see.
Another aspect is memory consumption that we see a lot. So depending on what kind of processes you're running, are you processing a lot of documents? Do you have big data structures that you need to process? What kind of integrations do you have with external systems that are data heavy? That has an impact on what kind of memory sizing you would need.
Yeah, because I think, and I mentioned that a couple of times in my videos also, is that Flowable is a platform, right? It is a box of tools, a toolbox, right, which you can pick things from, right?
Exactly,
and so it is kind of, it would be way easier if not, but that's kind of what we do and what we like to do, right? And what I think we are quite good at from that perspective. And basically, with a toolbox, you can't say that's a solution, right? That's the kind of thing.
Exactly. It's like a programming language.
It is.
it's what do you tell a customer that comes and says, hey, I want to run a Java program. How much memory do I need to provision, or how much CPU does that program use? It's impossible to say ahead because you don't know what the program is going to do.
Yeah.
And with Flowable, you not only have one program, but you might have hundreds of programs depending on how many
concurrently,
use
right?
cases you
run. Running at the same time.
Exactly.
So I mean, you mentioned users, right? You also mentioned kind of memory, CPU, right? How do you determine that? Like, how do you kind of know, okay, we have now a CPU heavy, meaning probably more calculation heavy, or we have a lot of network calls going out, right? Which is a kind of IO metric. Mm-hmm. How do you get a grasp on that? Like, how do you kind of know that this is a sizing for this use case? How do you go about that?
Well, the first thing is you start up with a normal installation. And then over time you monitor it, and you do also performance tests to make sure that a productive system that actually gets the load from the actual users, not just the test system, can handle all these requests.
And when you say monitoring, what does that mean? What do I have to imagine?
There's different things. Okay. You can monitor the actual usage of the resources. So that would be how much memory the system is actually using, how much garbage collection is doing, how much CPU it's using, how many requests are going in and out. So there's a lot of metrics there that you can monitor. And you can also you can already monitor them with the Flowable platform.
Yeah.
So you can go into Flowable control, and then you see the actual memory usage. You see requests coming in. You see how many users
you also see the case processes, jobs going through the system.
You
right?
see all the different things,
graphs,
right? Yeah. But you can also integrate it in your existing external monitoring solution, because most of our enterprise users, customers, already have such a monitoring solution. Maybe it's Prometheus with Grafana, maybe it's the Elk Stack, maybe you have Splunk running, or Dynatrace, or there's a lot of different monitoring solutions you can use.
And you briefly mentioned it before. You said, this is not really servers like in the old school sense of the word, and you mentioned containers, right? So I'm hearing you're going towards Kubernetes, right? I mean, I know that there's a lot of customers using Kubernetes to run Flowable. Now, what's the story there? Is whatever you said now just applies there, or how is it?
Well, you can do it with Kubernetes as well, right? With depending on your Kubernetes distribution, you already have that integrated. With OpenShift, you have Elasticsearch, where you have the logs and metrics directly out of the box, or you use how we do it in Azure. You use log analytics workspace, or all the other metrics that Azure provides. So we are really flexible with our platform, with Spring Boot and all the different capabilities that Spring Boot brings, and with Micrometer and OpenTelemetry. It's all there. You just have to plug it into your own metric system.
And you mentioned just now that what we do on Azure, right? I mean, you're probably talking about Flowable Cloud, right?
Correct.
Yes, which is, the cloud is where we are running it. And I think that is then the solution for people that don't necessarily want to bother with the infrastructural side of things, right? So in that sense, it becomes our problem.
Yeah, right. You can just give it to us. I mean, we'll take care of the infrastructure, and you won't have to worry about the actual sizing, because that is our responsibility.
And do you know what we are running ourselves? I mean, you talked about all these tools. Do you know we're running on Azure, right? So do you know what we are using on the cloud ourselves to monitor and to graph all these things?
There's different things we use. We use Grafana.
Grafana, I've seen that passing by. I also know there's quite a bit of alerts passing by. Like, I saw emails coming in whenever, certain thresholds.
And with the incidents that we have.
True. Good point.
The incidents that were introduced with 3.17, you can integrate them directly into your own monitoring system. You can even use Flowable to alert yourself about incidents.
True.
So you could have a workflow started when an incident is created that then sends you an email or does whatever you want. So you can automate your monitoring also with.
So if I can summarize it, then it's basically it depends. It depends, right? But there is some engineering behind it, right? This is just not you putting your finger up in the air and saying a number, right? No, there is actually some real kind of calculations behind it.
The most important factor is the resource requirements is an evolving thing. it's not something that you install
Right.
together with Flowable at the beginning and
Yeah.
then it stays forever. It's something that evolves over time with your business because your needs change.
That's good.
within
It's
your
good news, right?
Yeah.
If you need more, it means the stuff you're doing is growing.
Yeah.
That's good news.
It's good for
Right?
everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's only good news. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of takeaway. It depends. Monitor,
Mhm.
right? And if you want it to be our problem, then you can run it on Flowable Cloud.
Correct.
Is that a good summary of our chat
Yeah,
here?
I like
Okay.
it. Yeah.
So with that being said, I say let's close it out. If you have any topic you'd like us to discuss, just leave a comment below this video and we'll tackle it. And I hope, Roman, this was your first entry on the channel beyond the Flowfest videos you did. So I hope we see you again, right?
I'm sure of it.
All right. Thank you very much. Later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.